Hi, I'm John Byrne with Poets and Quants. I'm back here at Washington University's Olin Business School. We're talking about the new MBA program at Olin, and we have with us 3 current MBA students, all of whom were guinea pigs on this incredible global immersion. Far away from me, but not that far at all. Former professional rugby player, right?
Yes, correct.
Lungi.
Yep.
And I'm not going to mess up your last name. I'm going to try Tshuma.
No, you got it. You got it.
Okay.
Yeah, you got it.
And then next to Lungi, we have Jennifer Lanas, who is from Pittsburgh and who had been an educator and is doing a career switch with her MBA at Olin. She'll be doing a summer internship at Cisco. Congratulations.
Thanks, John.
And then we have Zach Frantz, who actually had worked in China for 5 years in a variety of jobs involving education and language, and then came to Olin to do what?
To take the next step.
Would you know what the next step is?
After business school, I've been applying to supply chain and operations internships. Ideally, I'd be able to work in sustainability in some capacity, help companies reduce the carbon footprint and environmental impact of their supply chain and operations.
That's great. So let's talk about the global immersion. I'm betting that all 3 of you saw that as a major attraction, and it became one of the reasons why you decided to come to Olin for your MBA, yes?
Absolutely.
Correct.
Yeah.
Jiggle the car keys, gas up the jet, let's go.
And it fulfilled your expectations?
More than ever. And truthfully, we circumnavigated the globe together. And over the course of 6 weeks, we developed friendships. We learned business by actually doing business and contextualizing information. It was a dream come true for me.
Yeah. What were the surprises for you, Zach?
The Global Immersion Program?
Yeah, because you spent 5 years in China. I imagine that when you went to Shanghai and Beijing with your classmates, you were the guide, you were the leader, right?
Yeah, you know, when I first learned that after spending 5 years in China and spending so much time trying to get back to the United States to go to graduate school, when I first learned that, you know, I was going to go back to China almost immediately upon returning to the United States, I was a little worried. It's like, you know, I've spent all this time trying to get back. I just came from here. I don't necessarily want to go back. But the program was incredible. I got an opportunity to share a little part of the country which I love, China, with my classmates, and do my best to, you know, help people get around, navigate the streets, maybe eat some good food along the way. It was a good time.
And Lungi, we spoke earlier for my story on the MBA Program of the Year.
Yeah.
And one of the memorable things you said to me was you remembered the night you and your classmates went down near the river in Shanghai. And in that evening with the city glittering all over, all around you, you just had that magic moment that you'll remember for a lifetime. Talk to me about that moment.
Yeah, that was a special moment, one of many. But the reason it was so special is that, you know, we were all, you know, outside of our comfort zones, but safely outside of our comfort zones, you know, with the guidance of the school and the program. And we were in Shanghai. We've been traveling, you know, together. We know the worst of each other. We know the best of each other. We were like doing work in the middle of the night, but we were going out to have drinks as well. So it was all, I think that moment just put everything into like perspective. And we kind of took a moment, like, you know, we've been traveling and working. And that's when we first, I think, paused. And we took a moment and we were just sitting by the Big Bend with the lights by the canal, and we were just watching the lights, having a couple of beers, and it was awesome. Like this was my new group of friends. So that's why it was special.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear that the bonding that occurred from the trip was very unusual and very deep. I think I heard that second-year MBAs, upon seeing the first years come back from this trip, wondered what kind of voodoo had been practiced on everybody because you guys are so close together, right?
Yeah.
But the other learning, apparently, was accelerated development, because you were thrown into this situation with some preparation, but there was a lot of unknowns. And you certainly didn't know each other. You were pretty much strangers to each other, and you come out of it really close friends. Did you get a sense that you were learning a lot during the 35 days you're away? Jennifer?
I would say that's true, John. Baptism by fire might be an accurate description, or swimming with sharks, so to speak, but that's not to frighten anyone. The idea is that you belong to a cohort, and it's a diverse, eclectic group of people. You know, to say poets and quants is an accurate description, because you have people who are well versed in the humanities, as well as you have individuals on your team who formerly worked, in strategy, who work in investments. So you have anyone on your team who can put together the P&L and be ready to perform at the end of the week in Sam's class, who can stand up on the stage and be able to put together the deck and know that you perfectly executed. So yes, you really are running a sprint every week, and the demand is, it is a little bit challenging, but you know that you have a deliverable, and you know you have teammates that you can rely upon to get the job done.
Yeah, and the teams are formed well, right? I mean, one of the points in the earlier webinar here was that it's unusual usually to send students on experiential assignments with organizations without core learning in the basics. So the teams were formed in a way to bring their workplace experiences into the project so that students could add real value. Correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's take the three parts of the global immersion first, and give me a sense of what went on in Washington, D.C. Who wants to speak about Washington first? Anybody?
Yeah, I can speak about Washington. Mainly because I organized a big party after Washington, but
You're the party guy.
No,
I mean, the beer is out near the river in Shanghai. Now you're telling me about a party in D.C.
No. I really like D.C. personally. D.C. is one of my favorite places in the United States, and it was just like even walking down. That's where the World Bank is, the IMF, and the embassies. And we were exposed to the Brookings Institute, which has long relations with the university and the people that we were able to tap into, and get exposed to. It really did set a good tone for the rest of the immersion, and it was a right balance of getting to know each other as groups and preparing ourselves, and also setting a standard for the educational work and the core courses and the cultural experiences that we were going to go into. So I think it was, it really was like a plane taking off. I think Washington was perfect, all the way to Barcelona, Beijing, Shanghai.
Yeah.
It was a great start.
And you had like lectures on global economics, public policy, to set the stage for the rest of the trip, right? Yeah.
So we had global economics, and we were, talking about and navigating on how businesses are more global, and how a simple product touches all the ends of the Earth before it gets on the shelf. So it was preparing our minds as well, and it was, we were looked at things like the health, which was a difficult thing to look into, but like health in the United States and the health system, and how we can comparing it to others in the world, and how if we were to recommend something as groups, how we would do that. So it was really taking into a lot of components from different facets and preparing us for ramping it up with the other places.
Now, where did you stay when you were in Washington, D.C.?
We stayed, I'm not sure what the place was called.
Circle.
Yeah, DuPont Circle.
It was like a hotel?
Yeah.
Nice.
Fabulous hotel.
Yeah, we would walk, get up in the mornings and walk to the Brookings Institute. It was super convenient. And I actually got a chance to even walk to the Zimbabwe embassy. It was.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it was just everything was I think was well planned out, and it was great.
Yeah,
Okay.
I thought the most important part of Washington D.C. was it was the first step in getting to know your teammates and
Yes.
trying to figure out how to work within these diverse groups you were talking about.
Right.
I'm a firm believer that you have to push yourself out of your comfort zone to spark personal growth and development. And we got pushed in a lot of ways on the global immersion trip, but one of the main ways was we were forced to figure out how to work with a group of people whom we'd never met before.
Yeah.
We have different backgrounds. A lot of us are doing things that we've never been exposed to before.
Right.
So Washington, D.C., I think was great because we had a group project and we had a deadline and we had to allocate responsibilities, but it wasn't necessarily related to business.
Yeah.
So we were able to kind of work with our teammates to figure out our group dynamic and how to get things done in an area that we didn't necessarily need expertise to excel in. So that was a great first step for that work.
What did the group project involve?
So over the course of the week, we had been learning about economies from all over the world. We also had learned a little bit more about American history. We did some cultural excursion tours, like we went out and saw the monuments and everything earlier in the week. A number of our classmates had never been to Washington, D.C. before. I'm from the United States, but I'd actually never been to Washington, D.C. before. So we were each asked actually to go to a different museum, and each member of the group went to a different museum, and we kind of came back and synthesized what we saw and gave a presentation that was echoing the core values of our program, being values-based and data-driven. So we were able to give a presentation that talked a little bit about American history, a little bit about values, everything that we, as part of the foundation of this program.
Actually, that sounds like fun. And then on to Barcelona.
Yeah.
So Jennifer, what was Barcelona like?
Oh, my goodness. To actually be there in the city and to see what's happening at a granular level for a thriving, vibrant city that's also facing some geopolitical turmoil.
Yes.
If you follow, what's happening in the news, you understand that Barcelona is a microcosm of a much larger global story. So not only was our cohort putting together, for many of us, our first P&Ls, but we are in the midst of, again, this vibrant European city that in itself is going through a period of transition, and we are part of that dialogue. So during the day, we're engaged in classes that are demanding of us to enter into the world of management and strategy, and we're relying upon each other as teammates to understand and contextualize this information. My project was with a biodynamic vineyard. So first, I had to understand, what does that mean? It sounds a little hipster.
Biodynamic?
Right? Absolutely. Do I have to, grow bangs? Does my cohort member have to have a handlebar mustache? What is this? But it was awesome. Again,
Is that another way to say organic?
It's slightly different. You have to do a little
Okay.
searching on the internet. It's very intricate, and there are some very strict standards to be a biodynamic vineyard within this region. And again, to understand it and understand why this is a market strategy for the winery that we are working with, and again, is this value proposition worth pursuing? And how might we as consultants help to advance this mission? From my standpoint, I wanted to use it as not only a business case, but also a way of exercising design thinking in the group. So using design thinking strategies to help us to understand and exercise our strengths, our brand as a team, and then advance that moving forward. So there were a lot of team building exercises that we did in Barcelona that were fun, that were engaging, interactive. And again, how could you not be there and appreciate the culture? There was so much that I got out of that experience. I mean, you're there for a reason. It's B school. So yeah, you get up early, you stay out late, you figure out a way to make it all happen.
And now, where did you stay?
So we were just off of La Rambla, which is a large promenade in
Yes.
Barcelona. And Barcelona is an entirely walkable, beautiful city.
It's magnificent.
Yeah.
So we were very close to a lot of the Gaudi architectural sites. Very close to a lot of the touristic sites that you would see, so the parks, the fountain. We were in the heart of it all. It was
I'm sure
amazing.
everyone ate well
Oh,
in
yeah.
Barcelona.
My teammates have the greatest taste in paella, if I may say so. And the cava can't be beat.
Well, and was your winery making cava?
So yes, and that's again the distinction.
Biodynamic?
Ours was biodynamic, and other again, cava has been historically at a different price point. It's not champagne, or it's not wine from the Napa Valley. So how do you change the perception of cava, and to which market should that should it be branded? So that's one of the questions that we had to solve, and again, do this as a team. My team is representative in terms of gender, and that's something we should say here. Our cohort of 100 students, we've achieved gender parity. And those are the things that we really stand by. We have gender parity in our program. We are racially and ethnically diverse. We stand by our values. We, as a team, came together, again, in a very representative fashion with very different perspectives to solve a problem for a winery in a different country, on a different continent.
Yeah, it's
So
remarkable.
It truly is. So I think that was pretty awesome, a project overall.
Now, Lungi gave us his magic moment of the trip. What would have been yours?
You know, don't get me wrong. I do like a good party. I do like a good party. But I am a quiet walk and talk type of person. So I think it was walking with my teammates through the winding streets of Barcelona. on
The
a
old town of Barcelona,
That's
which
right,
is really beautiful.
Yeah.
The Gothic Quarter.
Yes.
So winding
Absolutely.
through on a quiet, sleepy Sunday and hearing music. It seems like every corner you just see another guitarist just strumming away. And that for me is something that it's palpable. I'll take that away with me forever.
Did the school pay for tapas?
Wow. You know, that's something. I definitely have to say that I wouldn't be here or anywhere for that matter throughout my educational journey. As a former teacher, scholarship considerations matter. So the fact that the global immersion was included within our
That's
tuition,
kind of remarkable, really.
Game changer.
it is, truly.
Plus, wasn't it in China you actually had your own hotel room?
That is right.
Yes.
For a full 3 weeks in Shanghai,
How about that? Really?
Crazy.
Okay.
living in style.
That's remarkable. Okay, Zach, you got to tell us about the China trip now.
I was just going to say, while the school did not pay for our tapas out, they did pay for maybe 10 to 20 buffets a week.
10 to 20 buffets a week?
Yeah, no one needs that many buffets in their life,
Yeah.
but we got them.
Wow, I think you all probably gained weight during this trip, right?
Well, it's quite a bit of walking, I must say. Whenever
Yeah.
you have these cities that you understand this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, you need to see it all. So, you know, many of our professors also are up at the crack of dawn, you know, with their run clubs. So whether you're joining a professor on a run or you want to take a nice stroll by yourself to take in the solitude of the city, you'll walk it off. And some strange
Actually, you
donuts
make
along
me
the way.
remember an interview I had with one of the professors on the trip who said his magic moment was taking those early runs with students and really getting to know students like he had never had when he was on campus teaching. So that was really special to him.
It's a sense of community that you can't build anywhere or any way else.
Yeah. So, Zach, this was a return to China for you.
That's right.
5 years in China, you kind of knew it like the back of your hand. How was it different?
Yeah, I think one key thing was, despite the fact that I'd been in China that long, I wasn't necessarily working in what could be considered traditional business industries.
Right.
So through our 2 projects in China, where we were able to develop a go-to-market strategy for Strange Donuts, a local franchise here in St. Louis, and then also take an operations course in the latter half of our portion in Shanghai, where we got to take factory tours of Bosideng, which is a major apparel manufacturer in China. And also, we went to different places. I got to go to the Nike fulfillment center just outside of Shanghai. It's responsible for fulfillment of all of their orders in the
What was
entire
that
mainland
like?
of China.
What was that like?
It was large. There's a lot of stuff. I think there was a lot of stuff going on which I didn't
Was it
know anything
heavily
about.
automated or not?
It was fairly heavily automated, and they were always looking for different opportunities to automate it. I remember them talking about how the picking section was actually the most manually intensive aspect of their distribution process within the factory, but it also was too costly or impossible to be automated at this current date. But they were looking into that in the future.
Yeah.
But just being able to learn about some things about Chinese business and stuff that, even though I'd lived in the country for so long, I'd never actually been exposed to.
So you basically got to see a Chinese textile operation, an American distribution center in China, and then work on a consulting case with a local entrepreneurship outfit in St. Louis. It's trying to think about whether or not it should expand in Asia.
Absolutely.
That's a really good variety of different experiences.
Yeah.
So what was your magic moment?
Honestly, I think mine is the same as Lungi's. You know, it was at the perfect moment because it was right at the end of our tour. We were about to all fly back to, fly back to the United States. We had just come out of a good night together, meeting also the MBA students in Shanghai who are at Fudan University.
Ah,
We
right.
had a good event. Everyone was feeling good. Only a couple days left to go on the, on the trip. And just staring, the Shanghai skyline is really quite something. You know, looking at a nice vista allows you to reflect upon how much you've accomplished over the past few weeks with, the great people around you.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's something that none of you will ever forget.
Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely not. Yeah.
no, I'm ready to go back again.
Yeah, me too. Take me back.
All right, Zach, Jennifer, Lungi, thank you so much for joining us.
It was
Thank
a
you,
pleasure,
John.
John.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Now, don't go away because we have our final webinar. We have another student, and we have two people who are in career management who went along on the trip, because that's one aspect we didn't yet cover, and we'll learn all about that. So thanks for watching. We're on the campus of Washington University's Olin Business School. See you in a few.